What's up, everyone? Alex Rossman here, and welcome to Rossman Radio, the social first podcast where founders and industry leaders stop pretending everything's amazing and they tell the real stories, the wins, the failures, the why did I even start this moments, all of it. Most importantly, we break down the marketing strategies that are actually working for them today, not the ones some guru made up in a hotel conference room in 2016. So if you want real-world growth strategies told by the ones who have scaled multi-million-dollar brands, just listen.
Welcome back to Rossman Radio, the podcast where we talk to people shaping what's next in marketing, e-commerce, and brand storytelling. I'm Rob Nichols, Director of Strategy at Rossman Media, a digital agency that helps brands grow smarter across every channel that matters. Today, we're joined by someone who's seen marketing evolve from the Mad Men days all the way to TikTok Shop, John Spitaletta, CMO of Lola Products and ClipStrip Corp. John's story bridges traditional agency life, family business, and modern e-commerce. We'll talk about how he's scaled legacy brands online, what he's learned from decades in the industry, and where he sees opportunities for growth in a world that's moving faster than ever. John, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So you started your career in the classic kind of Madison Avenue era. How have you seen marketing evolve from the traditional TV print to the world of performance and digital platforms?
It's changed dramatically, obviously. You know, from the early days, I kind of caught the last days of the old school Mad Men days, like I was telling you, graduating college in '89 and going right into the advertising business, you know, the Madison Avenue world. And, you know, back in those days, you know, it was TV, radio, print, outdoor. That was pretty much what you can do. Very hard to track success, you know, on all these platforms. The direct to consumer infomercial world started making at least that a little bit easier to track when you do infomercials and, you know, DRTV with 800 numbers to sell products. But other than that, you know, that was, it seemed like there was so much to do back then and so many options. And there was, of course, you know, proportionate to the times. But when the digital world started, I mean, the mid 90s, it actually did start. I mean, I've been around since the beginning of digital. You know, I think my first pay-per-click ad was 1995 for ClipStrip. For Google, on Google, that wasn't even Google. It was before Google. I forgot what that site was, but the first pay-per-click site. Totally forgot the name, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, when that started, it just exploded, and the options are endless now. It's an infinite sea of marketing options, which makes things difficult because you know you have to navigate all these different channels to distribute your messages, and you know you have budgets and you can't just go on forever. The good part about it, one of the great parts, is it's very trackable to find out your ranking, your sales based on the marketing. So it helps with, you know, return on ad spend and tracking all that, so you know that, okay, at least I'm spending money here, I'm making money on it, so I don't, you know, I could not count that towards budget when you're making money on it. Almost, you know, you got to look at it that way. It's not a branding play, but there's just so many options now, and you have to really pick and choose the right ones, or else you could sink a lot of money into the wrong direction and really be behind the eight ball. You know?
Yeah, completely understand. I think that makes a ton of sense. I think that the question of attribution is a big one that a lot of brands run into, which is what's true incremental revenue that's coming in from online? What does that look like? How do you measure it? How do you measure that with specifically maybe for Lola products? Like, how do you gauge true, you know, whether it's period over period, year over year growth versus the attribution that's reported on your channels? So like a lot of people see great results on their Meta ads, on their Google ads, but then they go and look at the bottom line and they don't see, they don't see results that match what's being reported. How do you guys navigate that area?
Yeah, there's a lot going on with, getting better data these days, and I'm actually looking at new data attribution channels that supposedly sum it all up better than Google's own analytics, Facebook's own analytics. Everyone wants to take credit, and then sometimes they all take credit, for something, which gets tough. At the end of the day, the P&Ls don't lie. We attribute a certain percentage of our revenue to our marketing. And if I'm at that level, I know I'm good. If I'm at that level or better, I know that I'm financially in the right spot. So, it sounds simple, and it kind of is simple. Listen, in the world where nothing's simple, I try to make something simple. And, as long as we hit that percentage of our gross sales on our P&Ls, then I know that we're going in the right direction. So, what matter what I spend advertising dollars or marketing dollars on, it all gets attributed to P&Ls. And if it's below a certain percentage, I know that I'm doing better than what we forecast. If it's above that percentage, I'm doing worse than we forecast. So I don't know if that sounds, too simpleton, but it works for us.
No, sometimes simple is best. Sometimes simple makes the most sense when evaluating your success. And I think what a lot of brands don't have is the patience to, everyone wants a kind of a clear answer. Well, this channel is contributing this much, and this channel is contributing exactly this much. I think what a lot of brands miss is the bigger picture and how you're building that funnel that where everything is contributing to the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, because Lola products got into e-commerce very late. Lola's been around since the 1960s. ClipStrip started in 1980. I joined the family about 10 years ago after many years in the media business, in the marketing and television. It's a long story why I joined the family, but I did join the family to help the marketing side. And I was helping the family with marketing before that when I wasn't here. That's why I mentioned 1995 with ClipStrip. I wasn't here. I was with an agency with helping ClipStrip. But because we have a pretty robust non-e-commerce business. So, and we've been blessed where it's been pretty good lately. So to get caught up, since we were so late to the game with e-commerce, we weren't that worried about making money on our e-commerce from day one. Like, some people get so crazy about making money out of the gate on e-commerce, where you see the return on ad spend is a 5-to-1 or a 6-to-1. That's a tough way to grow your e-commerce in the early stages of e-commerce. Like, you unfortunately, if you want to grow and scale someday, and you don't want to take too long, you have to take a hit in the beginning. That's not for everybody. It's, if you're a startup, that's really tough to do. It depends how much money it's funded in the company. If you're a small guy in your garage, that's really hard to do. We've been blessed that we have a company that's been around a long time. We've had some good years, and we're using a lot of that, the revenue that we have to not necessarily worry about making money directly off of the e-commerce. There's a strategy for when do we stop, that, philosophy, and start changing to, scaling profitably. So that's kind of been something that we've been doing.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I think for even, for brands who haven't been around as long, for sure, it takes time and an investment to build up that top of funnel, so that you have someone or that you have a big enough audience to focus on your conversion specific tactics too.
Yeah.
How do you think about marketplaces versus your own D2C site? I know that's another challenge for a lot of brands that are on the Amazons and the Walmarts of the world, who want the exposure that comes with those sandboxes. But obviously the better margins are always on your own site. So how do you manage those kind of relationships on your side?
Yeah, those, we're on many marketplaces. We have our own websites, of course, that are our marketplace, but we're on many third-party marketplaces. And, listen, at this point, it's our goal right now is to build our own website. We've built up the marketplaces. We have good revenue on the marketplaces. Very difficult to make money on the marketplaces. With overseas sellers selling products for what seems like a loss, competing against them. I don't know how they're making money on certain products that I see on Amazon. I can't figure it out for the life of me. And competing against them and all the fees that the marketplaces take. I mean, they hit you from every direction with fees and costs, and you have to advertise. If you don't advertise, you're behind the eight ball because you don't get ranked as well. Even your organic takes a hit if you don't advertise. It's complicated. Obviously, you make more money on your own site if you can bring traffic to the site that converts. That's people. Listen, in Lola Products' category, it's hard to get people to go to your own site. When you want to buy a household mop, a sponge, you generally think of the Walmarts, the Amazons. You go to those sites to buy them for the most part. It's not like something sexy where you might go to their site directly. Doesn't mean we can't do it. It doesn't mean we don't do it, but it takes a lot of effort on our part to get people there. And we're just really starting to pay more attention to our own site because, when we first got into e-commerce, we put them all out there and the marketplaces took off. So we had to put all of our resources to these marketplaces. Finally, we're still growing on the marketplaces, but we're finally directing a lot of our marketing and resources to building our own sales on our own site, which is a complicated. It's difficult to get people direct to us to a website as opposed to going to marketplaces. That's where marketing savvy comes in. Being smart about the tactics and whether it's Google, whether it's SEO, whether it's email marketing, whether it's SMS, whether it's affiliate, whether it's UGC. There's a million factors. We can go on, for hours and discuss it. But we're doing everything we can to build our own site. We're not paying fees to a lot of other companies. It's a lot less, so that's very simple. Just hard to get people there. We even have free shipping on our site over $40 to we feel like we don't do that. Why would someone buy a product from our site?
You mentioned when we talked before a little bit about branding and brand, having that initial awareness of the brand. I think there's, not to name names, but there's like the scrub daddies of the world, the ones that have started out. They started out marketing first, right? They started out with kind of like they did that. They started out having to sell their product, I guess, in that case was Shark Tank or whatever. But what do you think that is that brand identity is something that that plays a factor in driving that audience to the site, or do you think it's more just about it's always going to be harder to drive someone to your own website versus other marketplaces that they're on?
Yeah, I got you. The Lola Products, the household cleaning tool sector is what Lola Products is in. I'm speaking more about Lola than ClipStrip, our B2B company, but Lola is in the household cleaning tool sector. It's never been a big brand first, sector. People before e-commerce are still today. They walk into a Publix or an Albertsons or a ShopRite or Smart and Final. You need a mop. They go to the mop section. They see a couple options. They pick the one they like. They don't even look at the brand. It's a mop. That's kind of how it's been. Doesn't mean it's only that way, but it's in general. Other sectors, there's a lot of brands that people have a lot of passion for in apparel and beauty, auto, you name it, watches, Scrub Daddy, Shark Tank. They went to Shark Tank and they blew up from that. And listen, it's a great little name, Scrub Daddy. It's fun. I mean, they did brand kind of first, and they're doing well, and I give them a lot of credit. Procter and Gamble, Swiffer was their first big brand in cleaning. Mr. Clean is the other brand that's popular. Other than that, there's not many brands people can name, for cleaning tools. So it's definitely hard for Lola. We're one of the smaller legacy cleaning tool brands. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of time and money for Lola to become a household name. Very difficult. But we're working on it. do the best we can.
Completely understand. Yeah, totally. How do you feel about shifting gears a little bit? How do you feel about newer channels or tactics? Which ones seem intriguing to you? Which ones do you think are more of a, flash in the pan? I guess I'm curious. Mainly, we hear a lot of talk about TikTok Shop, a lot of live shopping, a lot of affiliate marketing, influencer collaborations. Which of those channels have you guys tried, and which ones have you found to be effective, if any?
TikTok Shop, I wish we were on TikTok Shop 2 to 3 years ago or 2 years ago, let's say, when it first started. These channels seem to have a big, boom in the beginning where everyone seems to make money. But it's still early, and we're on TikTok Shop. It's not easy. We're working on it. We have an agency recruiting affiliates, making videos. It's not the gold rush there. It's not like, oh, put a video on TikTok Shop of your mop and you're going to make a ton of money. No, it's not the way it works. So we'll see. TikTok Shop, I'm certainly interested in it working for us. Live shopping, that's a big deal. China is a huge business. They've really gone very far with live shopping. In this country, it just hasn't taken off yet to a large degree. But it's going to. I hear Gary Vee always talking about it. Live shopping's coming. He's been saying that for 2 years. It hasn't come yet. I mean, it's out there, but it's not a big deal yet in the U.S. But we're preparing for it. We're launching our first organic social media presence, which we're a little behind the 8 ball. But with that organic social media that we're going to come out with an internal look into our company, we're going to also add live shopping to it. So no, I haven't done live shopping, but I think that one is going to eventually be a pretty significant channel for people. It just makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's worked on television, QVC, and home shopping network. Why wouldn't it work online? I mean, you're seeing people live showing the product, and you get excited, you buy. It's the same concept that it was, that it still is on traditional television. So it's I'd say live shopping, TikTok Shop. One of the channels are exciting. Affiliate marketing is something we also haven't really succeeded with yet. Not just TikTok Shop, but affiliate marketing in general. We're still trying to make that successful too. That's kind of where you pretty much named the future areas that we're looking at.
I think, I don't think you're alone there. I think a lot of people are looking at those areas. We deal with those every day as an agency. I'm curious. So how do you plan to move forward? Do you have what does your existing team look like right now? You guys handle everything internally with your own marketing team. Do you work with, contractors, agency partners? How does that structure look like for you guys?
Yeah, we've got multiple agencies doing specific things that they're great at, supposedly, right? That's what they say, and who am I to say they're not great at it? I in a perfect world, I would have a full service agency doing everything for me. One group that I can talk to that understands us completely, and each section talks to each other. Blah blah blah. That would be wonderful. But I do have multiple agencies doing multiple different tactics for us. Some are succeeding more than others. It's a juggle act, jumping on the phone with different agencies to have for different channels. I have an in-house marketing team. We have like 4 or 5 people in the marketing department. I've got designers, excuse that. I've got overseas team of designers that help us. Also, e-commerce administrators overseas. So we do have quite a lot of people when you add them all up together. I mean, these overseas people are full time for us, and so it's a combination of agencies and in-house. We do some tactics completely in-house. Some channels we use an agency to make that channel work. Just depends.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense too. We do a lot of work with different types of scopes. We've been getting a lot of questions about TikTok Shop, about AI SEO, about the live shopping affiliates. It seems to be is in the services that are in the higher demand right now. But yeah, I agree too. Having worked at the agency level here with multiple partners with our clients too, I can understand how that can be, that juggling act can sometimes be difficult. You want an agency partner who's going to be good at everything, but sometimes the reality is you've got, they're better at one thing than they are at the other, and you've got to kind of learn.
There's so many tactics now.
Yeah.
It's difficult. If you own an agency and you want to be like, I've owned agencies myself, and when you own the agency, you want to believe you're great at everything. In-house, you hire the right people, and we can do all of it. Marketing's marketing. If we can market, we can market, but it's not necessarily that easy. There is a lot, but AI SEO, another one. That was on the tip of my tongue earlier. That's like a big deal now. All I get in my feed, in my marketing feeds, like AI SEO, AI SEO. There's always a new thing. But listen, think about it. I'm using AI a lot more than I used to use. Like what I used to use Google for. Like I'm going on chat to search restaurants. I'm going on to search everything, and they're going to hurt Google pretty badly. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, there's a lot of them too. It's not like there's just one. Perplexity, Grok, Gemini. I mean, there's a lot of. They're going to put a hurt into these search engines. Unless
they already have. I mean, I can tell you, we have Rossman builds out our own dashboards for our clients' websites, and as part of that, we look at the source of the traffic, right? And we created groupings for the AI tools, and I look back 12 months and I see every single month growth. I can choose any client I want, any client that I have access for Google Analytics to, I can choose at random, and I can show growth month over month over month over month over month. And it's not just like a little bit, it's like exponential growth month over month. The interesting part for me is, do we think it's because people really love the AI tools, which I think they work to a certain degree and that people get kind of hooked on them? You say they're going to hurt Google. I would argue that I think Google was hurting Google. I think that the search experience was so poor that people weren't getting the answers they needed. People were having to type in Reddit after their questions to get a real answer. So it's been interesting to see the evolution. But I totally agree that zero-click search traffic is going to continue to increase. So it's all for everything that we're doing for our clients is really preparing them for that future, because it's certainly not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, Google before AI search, before these channels, they didn't have to be any better than they were. They were the only good search engine, good for what they did, right? Bing wasn't nearly as good. It never was. I mean, Yahoo died a long time ago. You only had Google. So in a lot of ways, they didn't have to improve themselves, even though I'm not saying they didn't want to. But with the AI coming out, I mean, now they really better make sure that search engine works perfectly well when you search for something. You're getting the right things. Now they're doing the AI as well. So we'll see. I think it's going to level out. I think they're not going to be as dominant as they were. I don't see how they're going to stay that same percentage dominant.
Yeah, completely. We'll have to see how it goes. But I mean, I think that you guys have positioned yourself. I think, it's refreshing to talk to someone who's kind of seen every side of the marketing, landscape over the years, and not only witnessed the evolution, but really kept up with it. So I think looking at Lola and, going into the future, I think you guys are really well positioned. But thanks so much, John. I really appreciate it. I hope that this has been valuable to our listeners. I think it has. If you guys want to find out more or check out Lola Products, it's lolaproducts.com. You can go see more of John's work.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Thanks, John.